They tested you. They watched you quietly. They whispered about you behind your back. They placed obstacles in your path on purpose, not because they hated you, but because something about you made them uneasy in a way they could not explain. And chosen one, what happened next was something they never saw coming. What was revealed when they pushed you? What rose to the surface when they tried to break you? Exposed a level of spiritual rank inside you that even you did not fully know was there. This is not random. This is not a coincidence. There is a reason this message found you today, at this exact point in your life. Because what you are about to hear is going to shift something inside you permanently. You will never look at your past the same way again. You will never look at your struggles the same way again. And most importantly, you will never look at yourself the same way again. So before you scroll, before you move on, I need you to stay right here. Because what I am about to tell you was written specifically for the one who has been silently carrying something they cannot explain. For the one who has been misunderstood, underestimated, and quietly overlooked. For the one who has felt different their entire life and never understood why. That one is you. And today, everything is about to become clear. Chosen one, listen carefully. You were never ordinary, not from the beginning, not ever. There has always been something different about you, something that people around you sensed before you ever became fully aware of it yourself. You may have thought it was a flaw. You may have spent years wondering why you felt disconnected from the world around you, why you could never fully belong to any group, why you always felt like you were watching life from a slightly different angle than everyone else. But what you were experiencing was never a defect. It was a distinction. The people who tested you, the ones who made your life difficult, the ones who doubted you, dismissed you, ignored you, or tried to humiliate you, they were not your enemies in the way you think. They were instruments. Not instruments of destruction, but instruments of revelation. Every single test they placed in your path was quietly uncovering layers of strength, wisdom, and spiritual authority that had been sleeping inside you, waiting for pressure to bring them awake. And the moment they pushed hard enough, the moment they thought they had broken you, or defeated you, or exposed some weakness in you, what actually emerged shocked them. Because what came out of you under pressure was not what they expected. What came out was something ancient, something powerful, something rooted so deeply in divine design that no human force could uproot it. What came out was your spiritual rank. Type yes if this speaks to your spirit. Now let me explain something to you that very few people ever get to understand about their own lives. There are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who are shaped entirely by their environment, by the opinions of others, by the comfort or discomfort of their circumstances. And then there are those who carry something inside them that no environment can fully shape, that no opinion can fully reach, that no circumstance can permanently destroy. These are the chosen ones. And they are never, not once in history, recognized in these early seasons of their life. You were not recognized early. You were overlooked early. You were underestimated early. And if you are honest with yourself right now, you will admit that it hurt. That the invisibility hurt. That the dismissal hurt. That watching people around you be celebrated, be given opportunities, be surrounded by support, while you quietly struggled alone. That hurt in a way that went beyond ordinary pain. It went into your soul. It made you question everything about yourself. But chosen one, that questioning was not weakness. That questioning was the beginning of something extraordinary. Because people who have never been forced to question themselves never discover what they are truly made of. The ones who have it easy from the beginning rarely develop the kind of depth that comes from walking through fire. And you have been walking through fire for a long time, which means the depth you carry right now is something most people will never possess, no matter how hard they try. This is not random. God has been preparing you through every single moment of that fire. You may have noticed that the tests in your life were not small. They were not minor inconveniences. They were the kind of tests that made you ask God if He had forgotten about you. The kind of tests that made you lie awake at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling, wondering what the point of it all was. The kind of tests that stripped away your comfort, your confidence, your community, sometimes even your sense of identity, until you were standing in the ruins of what you thought your life was supposed to look like, wondering how to even begin again. Those were not accidents. Those were carefully designed seasons. And I know that word, designed, might be hard to accept right now. Because if they were designed, it means something allowed them. And that can feel like a betrayal until you understand the purpose behind it. Until you understand that no great spiritual rank is ever bestowed without the authority to carry it, being first forged in suffering. Every king is shaped in the wilderness before they are placed on the throne. Every warrior is trained in pain before they are trusted with power. And you, chosen one, have been in training for longer than you know. To type 777 if you trust God's timing. Let me tell you something about the people who tested you. The ones who underestimated you. The ones who looked at you and saw nothing special. The ones who treated you as though you were just another ordinary person passing through. There is something deeply fascinating about what was happening beneath the surface of those moments. Because when a person with an ordinary spirit encounters someone with an elevated spiritual rank, they feel something they cannot name. A discomfort, a subtle unease, a sense that something about this person does not quite fit into the boxes they are used to. And because humans often react to what they do not understand with suspicion or dismissal, they responded to you the way they did. Not because you were lesser, but because you were unfamiliar to them at a level their conscious mind could not process. Your spirit operated on a frequency they had never encountered, and rather than being drawn to that, they were threatened by it. And so they tested you, hoping to find a weakness, hoping to find an edge, hoping to confirm for themselves that you were ordinary after all, that the feeling they got around you was nothing more than their imagination. But they were wrong. And the moment the test came, the moment the pressure hit, the moment everything tried to collapse around you, and you refused to collapse with it, that was the moment your spiritual rank became undeniable, even to them, even to the ones who never wanted to admit it. Comment Amen if you feel chosen. There is a reason you are hearing this today, and that reason is not a small. If you have been feeling something recently, a stirring, a restlessness, a deep inner knowing that something in your life is about to shift in a way you cannot fully articulate, but can absolutely feel, then pay close attention to everything that follows. Because what you are feeling is not anxiety. It is not confusion. What you are feeling is your spirit recognizing a transition point. A door that has been locked for a long time is beginning to open, and your soul knew before your mind did. People with high spiritual rank experience transition differently than others. For most people, change is something they can see coming, something they can plan for, something that follows a logical sequence of events they can track and prepare for. But for you, change has rarely worked that way. For you, shifts come from the inside before they ever manifest on the outside. You feel the change before it arrives. You sense the shift before anyone around you notices anything is happening. And this has made you seem strange to others, perhaps even to yourself at times. But this sensitivity is not a curse. It is a gift, and it is one of the clearest markers of elevated spiritual rank that exists. To carry within yourself a knowing that transcends the visible world, to feel the movements of the invisible before they become visible, to sense God's hand working in the darkness before the light arrives. This is not ordinary human experience. This is something reserved for those who have been specifically designed for a specific purpose. Nothing about your life has been accidental. And now I want to speak to you about something that perhaps no one has ever spoken to you about directly. The loneliness. The specific, particular, heavy loneliness that has followed you through so many seasons of your life. The kind that sits with you even in a crowd of people. The kind that makes you feel fundamentally disconnected from the surface-level conversations and surface-level living that seems to satisfy everyone else around you. The kind that leaves you wondering whether anyone will ever truly see you. Not just the you that you show the world, but the real you, the deep you, the you that lies beneath everything. This loneliness is not a deficiency. It is not evidence that something is broken in you or missing from you. This loneliness is the natural companion of a soul that was built for depth in a world that rewards surface. When you are designed to live at a level most people never reach, you will always feel somewhat alone at that level, simply because there are fewer people there. The air is thinner at the top of the mountain. That does not mean the mountaintop is uninhabitable. It means the climb required to get there is not for everyone. You have been climbing longer than most, with less support than most, in conditions that would have made most people turn around and go back down. And you have not turned back, even when you wanted to, even when it made no logical sense to keep going, even when every external signal was telling you to give up. Something inside you refused, and that refusal, chosen one, that quiet, stubborn, unbreakable refusal to surrender, is the clearest evidence of your spiritual rank. Type an 11111 to affirm this message. Let me now tell you about the spiritual attacks. Because if you carry the kind of rank we have been describing, you have not simply faced ordinary human opposition in your life. You have faced something more targeted than that. There have been seasons in your life where everything seemed to fall apart at the same time. Not just one thing going wrong, but everything at once. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your sense of purpose, your mental clarity, All of it hit simultaneously in a way that felt almost impossibly coordinated. And in those seasons, you may have found yourself wondering whether you were cursed, whether something was working against you, whether the universe itself had turned its back on you. I want you to understand something about those seasons. When darkness attacks something specific, it is not random. Darkness does not waste resources on what poses no threat. The level of opposition you have faced in your life is directly proportional to the level of impact your life is designed to carry. You were not attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were powerful in ways you had not yet recognized. The enemy of your soul does not fight what is irrelevant. It fights what is dangerous. And you have been dangerous to darkness since the moment you arrived in this world. That is why the attacks came so early. That is why they came so often. That is why they were so intense. Not because you had done something wrong, or because God had abandoned you, but because the assignment on your life was great enough to warrant that level of opposition. Every spiritual giant in history was opposed before they were established. Every person who ever changed the world in a significant way went through seasons that nearly destroyed them first. You are no different. Even in your hardest moments, the protection around your life has been invisible but absolute. There is a reason you are still here. There is a reason that every attack that should have ended you did not. There is a reason that every season that should have broken you left you standing, battered but unbroken, wounded but alive, shaken but still rooted in something that no storm could completely tear away. That reason is not luck. That reason is not coincidence. That reason is divine protection assigned specifically to your life, because your life carries something that heaven itself is invested in protecting. Think about this for a moment. Think about the times you almost did not make it, the moments that could have gone differently, the situations where the outcome was genuinely uncertain, where you could not see how you would survive, and yet somehow, in a way that defied logic and sometimes defied explanation, you came through, not just once, but again and again, because a life that has been marked by God is not a life that darkness can permanently claim, no matter how hard it tries. Like this video if you feel this confirmation. And now I want to talk to you about the people who watched you go through all of this. The observers. The ones who were present during your hardest seasons, some of them close to you, some of them acquaintances, some of them people you barely knew, but they all saw it. They watched you walk through things they could not have survived themselves. And some of them, perhaps even people you loved and trusted, were quietly waiting for you to fail, quietly watching to see whether you would eventually break under the weight of everything pressing down on you. I want you to understand what was happening in those moments from a spiritual perspective. When God is elevating someone, when He is doing something significant in a person's life, that process of elevation always draws witnesses. Some of those witnesses are appointed to encourage you and carry you through. But some of those witnesses are appointed to serve a very different purpose. Their doubt, their dismissal, their silent anticipation of your failure, all of it was serving as spiritual resistance. The kind of resistance that builds the very strength and character you needed to carry what God was preparing to give you. Every person who underestimated you was unknowingly strengthening you. Every person who doubted you was unknowingly deepening your roots. Every person who tested you, whether consciously or not, was unknowingly verifying for heaven that you were ready to be trusted with more. And when you passed those tests, when you refused to become bitter, when you chose faith over the evidence of your circumstances, when you decided to trust the process, even when the process felt like it was destroying you, heaven took notice. Heaven always takes notice. Type 222 if you are ready for breakthrough. Chosen one, I need you to understand something about the nature of your rank that is going to shift the way you see everything that is coming next in your life. Spiritual rank is not about status. It is not about being better than others or above others in the way the world defines superiority. Spiritual rank is about capacity. It is about the depth of what you can carry, the width of what you can hold, the height of what you can endure. And rank is never given all at once. It is layered. It is built season by season, test by test, surrender by surrender. You have been in the layering process. You are still in it, even now. And the tests you have faced have not been random life experiences that happen to be difficult. They have been carefully calibrated challenges designed to activate specific dimensions of your spiritual capacity that could not be awakened any other way. Compassion cannot be developed without suffering. Wisdom cannot be formed without confusion. Faith cannot be strengthened without seasons of uncertainty. Courage cannot be built without fear. Authority cannot be established without opposition. Every single dimension of your spiritual rank was developed through exactly what you have been through. Not despite it, through it. And the people who tried to test you, who tried to expose you, who tried to diminish you, they were simply the instruments through which that development was activated. They did not know they were playing a role in your elevation. They thought they were proving your irrelevance. What they were actually doing was triggering your revelation. This is your confirmation. Now let me tell you what happens next. Because this is the part that most people watching this message are right on the edge of. The seasons you have been walking through, the isolation, the confusion, the stripping away of things, and people that you thought were permanent, the slow dismantling of the version of your life you planned and expected, all of that has been leading to something. And that something is not more suffering. That something is not more waiting in the dark. That something is the emergence. The emergence is the moment when everything that was built in the hidden season begins to show itself in the visible world. It is the moment when the seeds planted in silence begin to push through the ground and become visible to everyone around you, including the ones who doubted you, including the ones who watched and waited for your failure, including the ones who tested you and walked away believing they had confirmed your ordinariness. The emergence does not always look dramatic when it begins. Sometimes it starts quietly. A door that opens when you least expect it. An opportunity that arrives out of nowhere and fits your life with a precision that cannot be explained by coincidence. A relationship that enters your world and immediately feels like recognition, like finding someone your soul already knew. A moment of clarity in which everything that was confusing suddenly makes perfect sense. These are the early signs of emergence, and they come specifically to those who survived the preparation. Type yes if you believe your emergence is coming. There is something I want to say to the part of you that is still afraid. The part that has been through so much that it learned to protect itself from hope, because hope has been disappointed before. The part that wants to believe everything being said right now, but is holding back slightly, just in case, because holding back has felt safer than being fully open and being hurt again. I see that part of you, and I want to speak directly to it right now. Your caution is understandable. It was built by real experiences, real pain, real disappointments that left real marks. You are not broken for feeling it. You are not lacking in faith for carrying it. You are simply someone who has survived enough to know that hope requires courage. And right now, what is being asked of you is exactly that. One more act of courage, not a performance of faith, not pretending the fear is not there, but choosing to open just a little further anyway. Choosing to let this message land in the deepest part of your spirit, where the part of you that already knows your truth lives, and letting it be watered by what you are hearing right now. God has not forgotten about you. God has never forgotten about you. Not for a single second of your entire life. Every moment of silence you interpreted as absence was actually presence, operating in a way that required more from you than your comfort could provide. And the fact that you are still here, still seeking, still watching, still reaching for something greater than what you can currently see, that is evidence that the part of you connected to divine purpose has never stopped trusting, even when the rest of you was overwhelmed. God has been preparing you for something that required all of this. Comment Amen if you feel God's presence right now. Let me tell you something about spiritual rank and the way it is recognized. In the natural world, rank is displayed. It is worn on the outside. It comes with symbols, titles, uniforms, visible markers that announce to everyone around you where you stand in the hierarchy. But spiritual rank does not work that way. Spiritual rank is carried on the inside. It lives in the quality of your peace, in the middle of chaos. It lives in the level of your faith, in the absence of visible evidence. It lives in the depth of your compassion for others, even when you yourself are hurting. It lives in your ability to keep going when everything is telling you to stop. And because spiritual rank is invisible to the natural eye, people around you were unable to perceive it in the seasons when it was being formed. They saw only the circumstances. They saw the struggles, the setbacks, the moments where you fell, the seasons where things did not go the way you planned. They did not see what those circumstances were producing inside you. They did not see the quiet revolution happening in your spirit, the slow construction of something that would one day be undeniable even to the eyes that refused to see it before. That is what makes the revelation of your rank so powerful when it finally comes. Because it does not come with a warning. It does not come with an announcement. It simply emerges. In a conversation where you say something that silences the room. In a moment of crisis where everyone around you falls apart and you find yourself becoming the calm that holds things together. In a decision you make that defies every logical reason why you should have failed and instead opens a door that no one expected to open for you. In a display of grace under pressure that leaves the people who tested you unable to explain what they are witnessing. They tested you, and in the testing, they revealed your rank. Not because you performed for them, but because when the pressure came, what was inside you simply could not be hidden any longer. Type 777 if you know God has been with you through everything. I want to talk about the isolation now, because for many of you watching this, isolation has been one of the most painful parts of the journey. The feeling of walking alone, the experience of watching friendships and relationships drift away without fully understanding why. The gradual reduction of your social world as you moved deeper into your spiritual journey, until you found yourself in a season of profound aloneness that no one around you seemed to understand or even notice. Chosen one, this isolation was not a punishment. It was a protection, and it was also a preparation. When God is doing something significant in a person's life, He often begins by creating distance between that person and the voices that would dilute, distract, or derail what He is building. Not because those people are bad or because they do not matter, but because the work being done is delicate. And delicate work requires a controlled environment. The noise of too many opinions, too many voices, too much social complexity can interfere with the quiet inner work that has to happen first. In your season of isolation, you were not abandoned. You were being insulated from voices that would have talked you out of your destiny, insulated from relationships that would have kept you comfortable when you needed to be growing, insulated from the distractions that would have stolen your attention from the development that was happening in the hidden place. And in that insulation, in that silence, in that sometimes painful aloneness, something priceless was forming. The kind of self that can stand alone without crumbling. The kind of inner world that does not require external validation to remain intact. The kind of relationship with God that only gets built in the quiet, when the noise of the world falls away, and it is just you and heaven alone together. That relationship is now one of your most powerful assets. Type 1111 if your relationship with God has grown deeper in your hardest seasons. Let me speak now to those of you who have felt spiritually attacked in ways that were very specific and very personal. Not just general life hardship, but attacks that seemed to know exactly where you were most vulnerable. Attacks that came at the worst possible times. Attacks that targeted the very things you were believing God for. The relationships you were pouring into. The dreams you were quietly building. The faith you were carefully nurturing. These attacks were not random misfortune. When darkness attacks something with precision, it is demonstrating that it knows exactly what it is dealing with. An enemy that knows your vulnerabilities, that knows your pressure points, that knows the timing of your seasons, is an enemy that has been paying attention to you. And darkness does not pay that level of attention to people who pose no threat. The precision of the attacks you have faced reveals the significance of the assignment on your life. You were never a random target. You were a specifically identified threat to the kingdom of darkness, which is precisely why the resistance you have faced has been so relentless. But here is what I need you to understand about every single one of those attacks. Every one of them failed. Every one of them ultimately fell short of achieving the outcome they were designed to produce. You are still here. Your faith is still intact. Your purpose has not been destroyed. Your destiny has not been cancelled. And the reason is not your own strength alone, though your strength has been remarkable. The reason is divine protection that operates at a level above anything darkness can overcome. Nothing that was designed to destroy you has succeeded, and nothing will. Even in your hardest moments, the hand of God was on your life. There is a reason you are hearing this today. Because right now, in this exact season, something is being released that has been held in a kind of divine custody for you. The best way I can describe it is this: there are things God holds back from us, not because we are not worthy, but because we are not yet ready to carry them without those things consuming us. Blessings given too early can become burdens. Relationships offered before we are healed can become wounds. Platforms given before we are grounded can become traps. So in His perfect wisdom, God holds certain things in a kind of waiting place, until the work being done in us is complete enough to receive them safely. And, chosen one, the preparation that has been happening in you through every trial, through every test, through every season of isolation and stripping and rebuilding, that preparation has been bringing you to the place of readiness for what has been held in waiting for you. You have been getting ready without always knowing what you were getting ready for. But heaven knew, and heaven has been timing everything with a precision that your mind cannot fully calculate, but your spirit can absolutely feel. You can feel it right now, can you not? That sense that something is shifting, that quiet but undeniable awareness that the season you have been in is transitioning into something new. That feeling of standing at the edge of something you cannot yet fully see, but can absolutely sense is real and is significant, and is meant specifically for you. Like this video, if you feel a shift happening in your spirit right now, chosen one, let me tell you about resilience in a way that goes deeper than any definition you have heard before. Resilience is not simply the ability to bounce back. Resilience, at its deepest spiritual level, is the refusal of your spirit to accept a definition of yourself that was written by your circumstances. It is the part of you that looks at every situation, that tried to tell you who you were, that tried to define your value, your future, your capacity, your worth, through the lens of what went wrong, and quietly, stubbornly, defiantly rejects that definition. Every time you refused to become bitter, you demonstrated resilience. Every time you chose to forgive when anger would have been easier, you demonstrated resilience. Every time you showed up to try again after a failure that would have permanently stopped someone else, you demonstrated resilience. Every time you chose to trust God in the dark, when the evidence suggested you had every reason not to, you demonstrated the most powerful form of resilience there is. And this resilience is not accidental. It was not simply a personality trait you were born with. It was built, refined, tested and strengthened, season by season, through exactly the experiences you have had. You were placed in situations specifically calibrated to develop this quality in you, because the assignment that is coming requires a level of resilience that cannot be built any other way. The path you are being called to walk next is not for the faint of heart. And you are not faint of heart. You never were. The people who tested you confirmed that. Type 222. If you are ready to walk into everything God has prepared for you. Now I want to address something that may be one of the most significant and least discussed realities about walking at an elevated spiritual rank. The difficulty of finding people who can truly walk with you. Because when your spiritual sensitivity is high, when your awareness of the deeper things is developed, when you have been through what you have been through, and come out with the kind of depth and clarity you now carry, it becomes very difficult to connect deeply with people who have not been through a similar process. This is not arrogance. This is simply the reality of spiritual alignment. Oil and water do not mix, not because one is better than the other, but because they exist on different frequencies. And you have noticed this in your relationships. You have sat in conversations where everyone around you was perfectly content, discussing things that felt thin and surface to you. You have tried to engage at a deeper level and been met with blank looks or uncomfortable deflection. You have felt the loneliness of being surrounded by people who are genuinely good, but genuinely unable to reach the depth where you actually live. This experience is one of the markers of a chosen one. And while it brings loneliness in certain seasons, it is also a promise, because God never creates a need without eventually providing the corresponding supply. He never places deep hunger in a soul for meaningful connection without eventually bringing the people who are capable of meeting that connection. Your people are coming. Those who were built with the same depth, who have walked through their own fires, who speak the language of your spirit, they are being aligned with you through the same divine timing that has been orchestrating everything else in your life. This is not random. Your isolation was not permanent. It was seasonal, and the season is changing. Comment Amen and claim your divine connections are on the way. Let me speak now about purpose. Because for many of you, purpose has been the great longing of your life, the deep underlying question that has followed you through every season, the thing you have been reaching for, but perhaps not yet fully grasped. You have felt it, the sense that you were made for something, the awareness that your life was designed to point in a specific direction, the hunger to do something that genuinely matters, something that outlasts you, something that connects your existence to a larger story than just your own survival. This hunger was placed in you intentionally. It is one of the clearest spiritual fingerprints of a chosen one. Ordinary purpose satisfies ordinary people. But you have never been satisfied with ordinary purpose, because you were never designed for it. The level of hunger you carry inside you for meaningful impact is proportional to the level of impact you were designed to create. You do not hunger for something your life was never capable of producing. The hunger itself is evidence of the capacity, and God has been using every season of your life to shape you into the specific version of yourself who can carry that purpose without it destroying you. Because purpose given to a person who is not yet ready to steward, it is not a blessing, it is a burden. God has been doing the quiet, painful, often invisible work of making you ready, building your character to match your calling, deepening your compassion to match your assignment, strengthening your endurance to match the demands of the road ahead. The fact that you have not yet fully stepped into your purpose does not mean your purpose has been cancelled. It means your preparation has not yet been completed. And the fact that it is not yet completed means you are still in the process, still being built, still being shaped, still being made ready. And that is not a sign of God's absence. That is a sign of God's active and intentional presence in your life. God has been preparing you for something far greater than what you can currently imagine. Type yes if you believe your purpose is real and your time is coming. Chosen one, I want to speak to you now about the emotional pain that has accumulated over the seasons of your journey, because you have carried not just physical hardship or circumstantial difficulty, but a specific kind of emotional weight that goes very deep. The pain of being misunderstood, the pain of pouring yourself into relationships and watching those relationships still fail. The pain of loving people who were not capable of loving you back in the way you needed. The pain of being loyal to people who chose to walk away. The pain of watching your efforts go unrecognized and your heart go unappreciated. This pain is real. I am not going to tell you it was not real or that you should not have felt it. I am going to tell you that God has not overlooked a single moment of it. Every tear that fell in private has been witnessed. Every cry that went unheard by human ears was heard in heaven. Every moment of pain that you swallowed quietly and carried forward anyway was seen, recorded, and honored by the one who designed you for exactly this journey. And this pain has not been pointless. It has been transformative. There is a kind of wisdom that only pain can produce, a kind of compassion that only suffering can unlock, a kind of understanding that only comes to those who have walked through the dark and found their way through by faith rather than sight. The pain you have carried has built inside you a depth of human understanding that will one day make you the exact right person for someone who is walking through their own version of what you survived. Your pain is your ministry. Your survival is your testimony. Your story is someone else's lifeline. And the God who allowed you to walk through everything you have walked through has been quietly composing something through your life that is not just for you. It is for everyone you are about to reach, everyone you are about to touch, everyone who is going to see your emergence and receive from it the permission they needed to believe that their own breakthrough was possible. This is your confirmation. None of this was wasted. None of it. Not one single moment. Type 777 to claim that God is turning your pain into power. Let me now speak about faith, because faith is perhaps the single most important quality that has carried you through everything. And the faith I am speaking of is not the easy kind. It is not the kind that exists in comfortable seasons when everything is going well and God feels close and visible. I am speaking about the brutal, costly, counterintuitive kind of faith that chooses to trust when trust makes no logical sense. The kind that says, I cannot see any evidence of your hand right now, but I choose to believe your hand is there anyway. The kind that keeps walking toward a destination that cannot yet be seen, simply because something deep inside says keep going. That is the faith you have been exercising, and that kind of faith is extraordinarily rare. Most people, when faced with the absence of visible evidence, when confronted with silence from heaven, in the middle of their hardest seasons, choose one of two paths. They either perform a faith they do not actually feel, putting on a spiritual display for the people around them while silently struggling underneath. Or they abandon faith altogether, concluding that the absence of immediate visible results means the system does not work, that God is not there, or that they simply do not qualify for the blessings they see other people receiving. But you chose a third path, the narrow path. You stayed in the tension of not seeing and still believing. You allowed yourself to feel the full weight of the doubt and the fear and the confusion, and you chose to keep trusting anyway. Not blindly, not without wrestling, but genuinely, with your whole broken, tired, hoping heart. And that kind of faith, chosen one, is exactly what moves heaven. It is exactly what was required to complete this season of your preparation. And it is exactly what is about to be rewarded in ways that will make every moment of the wait worth it. There is a reason you are hearing this today. Today was the day this message was meant to reach you. Not yesterday. Today. Because today your spirit is positioned to receive what these words are carrying. Today, the veil that has been obscuring the full picture of what God has been doing in your life is thin enough for you to begin to see through it. Today, the confirmation your soul has been waiting for has arrived in this exact form, in this exact moment, for you specifically. Like this video, if you believe today is a turning point for you. I want to close this part of our time together by speaking about what is ahead. Not in specific detail, because the specifics belong to God and will be revealed in His timing, but in quality, in character, in the nature of what has been prepared and is now approaching. What is ahead for you is not a small reward for a long journey. What is ahead is not a modest improvement over what was. What is ahead is the kind of breakthrough that causes people who watched your struggle to be genuinely astonished. The kind of elevation that cannot be explained by human strategy or human networking or human effort alone. The kind of shift that leaves no question in anyone's mind, including your own, that the hand of God was responsible. You have been tested in ways that would have disqualified most people from receiving what you are about to receive. But the tests did not disqualify you. They qualified you. Every time you chose integrity when compromise would have been easier. Every time you chose forgiveness when bitterness would have been understandable. Every time you chose faith when doubt was loudly and logically making its case. Every single one of those choices was a qualifying moment. A moment where heaven recorded your character and found it ready for another level. And now the levels are about to change. Not in the way the world measures levels, but in the way that actually matters, in the depth of your peace, in the clarity of your purpose, in the quality of your relationships, in the alignment of your daily life, with the assignment you were born to carry, in the expansion of your influence into spaces that will allow you to do what you have always been designed to do, but never yet had the full platform to do. This is coming. It is already in motion. The wheels were set in motion before you clicked on this video. And everything you are feeling right now as these words land in your spirit, that warmth, that recognition, that quiet but powerful stirring deep in your chest, that is your spirit confirming what your mind is hearing. That is the part of you that is connected to eternity saying, yes, this is true, this is real, this is for you. Type Amen and claim everything God has prepared for you is already yours. Chosen one, they were unaware of your spiritual rank. They looked at you and saw someone ordinary, someone going through difficult things, someone who perhaps was not going to make it. They tested you, thinking the test would expose an average soul, but what the test exposed was something they never anticipated. What the test revealed was the kind of spiritual depth, resilience, faith, and divine protection that you do not see in ordinary lives. What the test revealed was your rank, and now the season is turning. The ones who tested you will see what was always there. The ones who dismissed you will witness the emergence. The ones who underestimated you will find themselves without an explanation for what is happening in your life, except the one they have been reluctant to accept, that you were always chosen, always covered, always marked for something that ordinary circumstances could never permanently contain. You were never going to stay in the wilderness forever. The wilderness was never your destination. It was your preparation, and the preparation is now complete enough for the next chapter to begin. Not the chapter of more struggle, the chapter of harvest, the chapter of emergence, the chapter of watching every seed planted in tears finally break through the surface and bloom in a way that takes your own breath away. Hold on just a little longer. Trust just a little deeper. Believe just a little more completely. Because what is coming for you is so precisely designed, so specifically tailored to your unique journey, so completely and exactly what your soul has been reaching for through every season of hardship, that when it arrives, you will feel something you may have almost forgotten how to feel. You will feel that everything made sense, that every moment was necessary, that God was working in the dark the entire time, that you were never forgotten, never overlooked, never abandoned. You were always chosen. You were always protected. You were always exactly where you needed to be, on your way to exactly where you were designed to arrive. This is not random. This is your life, and it is about to become everything God always intended it to be. To type 777 one final time, if you receive this message with your whole heart. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Because somewhere, someone is sitting exactly where you were sitting when this message first found you, wondering if anyone sees them, wondering if God has forgotten them, wondering if the pain will ever have a purpose. Your sharing this could be the answer to their prayer today. Be the confirmation for someone else that God sends to the right person at the right time. You are the chosen one. You always were, and now the world is about to know it.